Good morning, everyone. How are we doing today? And so, just very, very, very excited about our game planning. I tell you, the best thing about this type of stuff is like I'm literally fully immersed into it. So, like, I've probably read this stuff now about 12 to 15 times. So, like, it helps me out just as much of like, oh, I forgot about doing this and adding this to my game plan of 2023. So, Facebook world, good morning to you. My name is Brock Zevan, life coach, business coach, real estate agent, and dad. And it looks like the coaching part of me will be tested today as we will be doing some 2023 business success planning. If you still want. So, without further ado, on Thursdays, my main man, Christian, him and I were already talking this morning. I was bothering him before 8 o'clock, already calling him. Christian, take it away, man. How you doing?
Doing good. Can you guys hear me? Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
Well, I wanted to start just by welcoming all the new people. I've noticed this week there's been like 4 or 5 new people that have been jumping on. So we appreciate you guys. We're here Monday through Friday, 8:15. And if you are on Facebook, I see there's a few people on there right now. Leave us a comment in the chat because we don't know who is there. We only see little eyeballs on Facebook, 5 little eyeballs right now. So leave us a comment, just say good morning or participate a little bit. That way we can see you there and we know who's on with us on Facebook. We appreciate you guys leaving chats, when we ask questions, responding at the end. If anyone has anything that, they feel was important to them or stuck out or made an impact on them at all, we'd love to hear from you guys as well. That being said, I want to talk about something. I'm kind of tying in my last 3 talks together. So I talked about the seasons of life. Last week, I talked about focusing on what you can actually control, your center of influence, not focusing on things that are outside of your control, which cause anxiety, which cause overthinking, like Greg talked about yesterday. And today I want to tell you a few stories about my life as well. One of them I've kind of touched on, or 2 I've touched on a little bit, but I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into those. And, one of the things that Sandy talked about on Tuesday that stuck out to me, she kind of had a lot of great points in her talk. Good morning, Glenn and Deanna over on Facebook. Thank you for chiming in over there. One of the things she said that stuck out to me was she was talking about keeping promises and keeping promises to her daughter, where she told her daughter something that, wasn't necessarily maybe well thought out when she made this promise. It was sound like it was more, maybe not spur of the moment, but it wasn't, it didn't have a lot of foresight, right? And her daughter kind of called her out on her later in life for not holding up her promise. With that being said, that's going to tie into what I want to talk about today, which is the man in the mirror, right? Looking at yourself in the mirror, keeping your promises to yourself, being honest with yourself, having integrity with yourself, which is vitally important for your success in all the different areas of your life, not just business, but in health, in your relationships, in your mental well-being. It's very, very important. So I'm going to tell you a few stories. For those of you that know, I do not drink anymore. I did drink actually, let me go back. I'm going to tell you one before this. So I grew up wrestling my whole life, right? And after I was done with high school, I needed some sort of physical outlet. I love one-on-one competition. There's no team you can't blame the offensive lineman. You can't blame the quarterback. When you are wrestling, when you're doing one-on-one sports, it's you versus the other person, and it's you performing or not performing. So after high school, I got into doing jiu-jitsu for a little while. And jiu-jitsu led to me doing Muay Thai. And I'm curious if anyone in here has ever heard of Muay Thai. Has anyone watch UFC or MMA, any sort of fighting, know of Muay Thai? Has anyone ever heard of that before? Brock has? Anyone else ever heard of Muay Thai? Nobody, huh? Okay, so Muay Thai is basically
Sherry has. Sherry?
Sherry has?
She's like,
Sherry,
I don't know.
okay.
She's like, oh yeah. She's like, I've got it.
Oh, okay. I don't have my video set up.
My house. We're big UFC fans.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So Sherry has heard Muay Thai. Muay Thai is basically a couple people on Facebook. Okay. Edwanda and Deanna, perfect. Okay, so Muay Thai is basically kickboxing. So everyone knows boxing, right? Kickboxing, you throw in kicks, so you can do leg kicks, body kicks, head kicks. Muay Thai is called the art of 8 limbs because you can also clinch and throw knees, and then elbows. Elbows are very big in Muay Thai. It's the highest point scoring in Muay Thai. And the point of elbows is to cut people, which is a little bit nasty, but that is part of Muay Thai, is getting that blood going. So anyways, I got into Muay Thai and I loved doing Muay Thai. I love hitting pads. I love practicing. I love the workout. Kickboxing is a great workout. If you guys ever get a chance to do like a cardio kickboxing class, I highly recommend it. But I love Muay Thai. And what I love Muay Thai most for was fighting, you know, the actual part of going in and testing yourself against other people. I loved sparring. Sparring is basically practice fighting. You go anywhere from like 30 to 60%, right? You're not going 100% with your partners. You're not trying to hurt each other, but you're trying to test your skills. You're trying to test what you have practiced and learned. You're also trying to wear the other person out, because I will tell you something, guys. The worst possible thing that could ever happen to you when you're in a fight is to be so tired that you cannot defend yourself. It is the scariest thing that will ever happen to you in your life, when you are so dead exhausted that you can't even hold your hands up to block incoming punches or lift your leg up to block a kick or anything like that. So sparring is something that I loved, and I had a great time doing it. Now I'm going to jump forward to another story real quick. I'll be quick on this one because I've already talked about it many times. For a long time in my life, I was drinking very consistently. Now, I wasn't the type of person, I would get drunk occasionally, but I wasn't the type of person to be like drinking to get like heavy drunk or blackout drunk or anything like that. But I was the slow and steady type, right? I liked having a beer, 2, 3 beers every single day, just to take the edge off after work every day, right? And I would also, I don't know if I've shared this, but I would also smoke weed too. Same sort of thing. I wasn't like getting blasted, but I would smoke a little weed, drink a couple beers, and be good to go for the rest of the night, right? Last thing, again, I've shared this. I had a job for a long time, 14 years. I worked for the same company. Started a very entry-level position, production line, soldering electronics together, worked my way up to sales manager, sales director, all the way up to, you know, being in charge of international accounts, large accounts. I was in the music industry, so Guitar Center, Musician's Friend, if anybody's a musician, they've heard of those. So I want to tell you these 3 things because it ties into what I want to talk about today, which is being honest with yourself, being able to look in the mirror and have an honest discussion with yourself and have some integrity with yourself. So we're starting off the new year, and building confidence in your business and yourself is very important, especially as an entrepreneur, which most of us are here. But there's some factors in confidence that are important to understand. And the first factor I want to bring up is integrity. And I looked up integrity. Integrity means to have a steadfast adherence to a strict moral and ethical code. Steadfast adherence to a strict moral and ethical code. Now, there's a presupposition there is that you have to have a moral and ethical code, right? You have to have a code first before you can have adherence to it. But integrity is actually sticking to that moral code. And to me, what that means is letting it play out in your day-to-day life and acting on that in your day-to-day life, not, you know, having this moral code on Instagram and on Facebook, but then going behind the scenes when nobody's watching, when the Zoom camera's off, right? And living a different type of lifestyle. Honesty is an important factor in confidence as well. And that means truthfulness, the quality or condition of being honest and having integrity, right? So when you're building confidence, it's important to be competent in what you're doing, to have integrity, to have honesty. And when you have integrity in your life, when you live to those moral codes, you start building confidence in yourself, right? You start being honest with yourself. You start building confidence in yourself. When you hold true to your word, you start building confidence with yourself. So going back to those stories, I think it's very important that people are able to look in the mirror and like themselves, to have a true love for themselves when they look in the mirror. And, you know, unfortunately, I believe that for the vast majority of people, that is not the case. You know, when people get off this call at the end of the Zoom, you know, a lot of people, it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes. They're going to get up, they're going to go to the bathroom. And after they go to the bathroom, they're going to wash their hands. When they're washing their hands, they're going to look up and they're going to see themselves in the mirror. And for a lot of people, the first subconscious thought is negative, right? They don't believe the person in the mirror is everything they should be. They don't believe the person in the mirror is good for some people. They don't believe the person in the mirror deserves the things that they want in their life. And this takes some work, and it takes some honesty with yourself and some integrity with yourself to be able to change that, to have that conversation where you can feel like a good person when you're looking in the mirror. You can look yourself in the eyes when you're looking in the mirror and say, I love you, and actually feel an honest, true connection with that. And this ties into business, because when we're talking to customers and you're talking to a customer and you're having that conversation and you're saying, or a prospect, and you're saying, I'm the best person for the job. And deep down inside in your head, you know that you're not doing the work behind the scenes. You know that you're not making the calls. You know that you're not the best agent or the best person to represent them. And you're having that conversation, that subconscious mind, it's going to come out with that conversation. And people might not realize that right up front, but that does leak out into our everyday life as well. So going back to this, these stories I told earlier, I promise it's all going to tie together. So having honesty and integrity with yourself is not just about telling yourself that you're doing something wrong, or that you need something to change, or that you need to do something that's, you need to stop something that's bad. It could be that maybe you're doing something that you love. Maybe you're doing something fun, but it's just not serving you well anymore. So let me tell you about my Muay Thai experience. My goal was to just have a Muay Thai fight, right? I wanted to do that. I was already in my mid-20s. I'm not going to have like a professional career, but I wanted to have a fight. And I had multiple fights lined up. They always fell through for one reason or another. But I had a chance to go to Thailand. And when I was in Thailand, I did a bar burner, which is basically there's a ring set up in a bar and they let foreigners fight each other. So I got to do my first Muay Thai fight in a bar. I fought a Canadian dude that was much bigger than me. He was a hockey player, so he said he had a lot of experience fighting, which is people over here on the East Coast. I'm from California. There's no hockey in California. There's no lacrosse in California. I don't know if people fight in lacrosse too, but I know fighting with hockey is like a thing, right? So Canadian was very confident, but I was trained. And people don't realize this. If you're not trained in fighting and try to fight people that are trained, it's not good. It's not good. It doesn't even take a whole lot of training. One of the things you realize when you start sparring is the instinct when someone's punching you in the face is to shy away, is to close your eyes, to turn your head. But that's one of the first things you have to get over when you learn how to spar is you have to look at somebody dead in the eye when they're punching you. You have to look at that punch coming straight on, and it goes against all instincts you ever have. Side note, guys, sorry. So when I got back from Thailand, I got in the shit house for a little bit from my coach because he was not happy that I did a little burner fight in Thailand. And to be honest, I wasn't trying to hurt the guy. It was more like I was going sparring speed. But I had a lot of fun. So I got my Muay Thai fight, and it came to a point where I had, a few months went by, and like I said, I was kind of in the doghouse, I should say, with my coach a little bit. But it came time to actually schedule a fight for me. And what happened is I hurt my knee, and I never got it diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I had a slight MCL tear. Nothing big, because I was able to walk. I know people with tears in their ACLs, MCLs can still walk often. But it took a lot longer for me to heal than I was expecting. I thought I'd take 2 weeks, a month off. But 6 months later, my knee, I still, I'd throw a kick as my right knee. I'd throw a left kick, which requires some twisting on your knee, on the inside of my knee, which is why I think it was my MCL. Just didn't feel right? And it felt a little loose. The knee felt loose. And during this time, I had a lot of time to reflect, because what was happening to me, and I wasn't being honest with myself. I guess I wasn't being honest with myself is what was happening every time I sparred was I would wake up the next day and my ears would be plugged and my brain would be foggy. And this happened time and time again. I felt hungover. And like I said, at this time I was drinking, but I wasn't drinking where I was getting drunk. I wasn't drinking enough to get like hungover. But every time I sparred, I'd feel hungover the next day, and my thinking would be a little fogged. My ears would always be plugged. Kind of felt like I had a cold. And it took a lot of soul searching to realize that getting punched in the head probably wasn't good for my brain. And, I don't know if it's just my head. I think that, because you see these UFC fighters that take a beating, and some of them take a beating. And I know they feel like crap the next day, but I don't know, maybe my brain just doesn't deal with that head trauma as well as other people. Maybe some people can absorb it more than others, but I had to be honest with myself. And this was very hard for me because I love sparring. Sparring is so much fun. It's like a chess match, but the stakes are a little bit higher, right? And I had to be honest with myself, guys. I had to say, hey, this cannot be good for me. And I'm 25 years old. If I keep doing this and, I end up doing fights and we start fighting where there's elbows and knees where you take some like serious punishment or where you're not going 50% with someone, what is going to happen to me when I'm 35 and 45 and 55? And I had to have that serious conversation with myself. I had to look myself in the mirror. I had to sit down and really think about that. And it was important for me to be honest with myself in that situation and to understand that, hey, maybe this isn't something I should be doing anymore. And that was hard because it was something that I enjoyed. It wasn't like drinking, it was something that I enjoyed, but it wasn't good for me, right? Same thing with the drinking, right? At some point, I got to the point where I said, I've said this many times, I was drinking just enough to blur those words a little bit on the page to where when I knew I was supposed to be reading my book at night before I went to bed, just enough blur to say, I can't read tonight. I'll read tomorrow or I'll read the next day. And I had to get to a point where I had to look in the mirror and be honest with myself. Hey, man, you have a problem here. If you don't take care of it, you're going to have a more serious problem in the future. I'm sure I would have got to the point eventually where, the hard liquor consistently, the 6-7 beers consistently, I'm sure it would have got there if I didn't stop. So I had to have that discussion with myself and be honest with myself. And with my job that I had, I was not happy there. It was a great company, great people I worked with. The culture there was amazing. It's like you hear these tech companies where the culture is great, right? This company actually had really great culture, and it's very cool to see a company build that, and it's very cool to be a part of that. Company is great. The owners were great. Everything was great about this company, but it wasn't the industry I wanted to be in. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I was tapped out on my earning potential there. At least for a while, it wasn't going to keep pace with what I wanted to do. And for a long time, I didn't take the steps that I needed to take because I wasn't being honest with myself. I didn't have the integrity with myself to say, hey, I need to step off the ledge here and go do my own thing. I need to take off those golden handcuffs. Everyone's heard that term, right? Golden handcuffs. They pay you just enough to make you not quit, and you do just enough work to not get fired, right? You have the golden handcuffs. So I had to have those discussions with myself, and I've had these discussions with myself many times in my life. And it's important to have these because having integrity is important with other people. It's important to keep your promises to other people. It's important to keep your your word with other people, but it's most important to keep these promises and keep your honesty and your integrity with yourself. Because if you don't have it with yourself, it'll leak into the other parts of your life. When you're having that conversation, when you're telling someone you're the best person for the job, there's going to be that split second people pick up that you don't really believe what you're saying. When you're having that discussion with your kids where you're promising them this for the third, fourth, fifth time, and they said, Mom, in their head, they might not be saying it out loud, but they're saying, you never keep your promises. You're telling your wife you'll be home for dinner in time. Remembers last week and the week before and the week before and the week before. You're telling your family that you're done drinking, you're not going to do it again, you're done doing the drugs, whatever it is you're doing, guys. You're not doing it because they're going to remember. But worse is that you are going to remember in your head that you're not doing what you're saying you're doing. So that was it for today. I told Brock, I was like, I don't know if I can fill 15 minutes today, but I kind of went on a little rant, guys. So
I know. I was just like,
hopefully
I was getting myself ready, and you're like, I looked at the time. I was like, I don't know what he's talking about. That he's going to need at 8:30. That he was going to run short.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I will say, because you know me, I'm always full of words. That's nothing short of me with words. I don't know about you guys, Does anybody have like a favorite word in their life? Does anybody have like, if you have a favorite word, I want you to write it in the chat. Okay. Does anybody balance, celebrate? Anybody got a favorite word? Keep going, because I want to read these as they come in. Facebook, don't be hiding over there either. Who's got a favorite word? Anybody else get savage, war? Anybody else got a favorite word that they go to? Blessed. Good morning, Wendy. Oh boy, Mike's got to give a really
Serendipity.
serendipity. I had to like sound it out, like
Help you out
Brielle.
there.
Sound it out, Brock. Sound it out. I had to go through that one.
Brock
Mike
was
had
a
to give
PE
me
teacher,
20.
I think, right?
Yeah, these words. English is not my major. I always have to tell people that I hire, you got to go over my words with me. Wendy laughs at me all the time. Here's my favorite word. You said it today. Integrity. See, my disease is more important when I have integrity, honesty. Thank you, Terry. And that is because I'm by myself quite a bit. Okay.
Mm.
I go to the airports, I'm by myself. I travel, I'm by myself. My integrity is so important when I'm by myself, because nobody can judge me. Nobody's there to tell me what to do, what to not to do. Because when we're on this screen, everybody, people can see us. They could see whether or not we dressed up today. I'm a very big believer that most people are not on a video this morning because either they haven't gotten ready yet, they're doing something out of the ordinary. Who knows? They could be doing something that we can't see. And see, in my life, I can go to the airport and drink and nobody would know me at all. I could sit there and have a drink and I could do that. I can come to my house and I can have a drink, and my 4-year-old Bryce and Brielle really would have no clue. They would have no idea. But I know what I'm doing. Just like when it comes time for work and people want to bitch, and we're going to talk about it this afternoon. Like, we really know if you're working or not. It really will show up. Would we all agree that if we don't put in the effort, it will show up in 30 days, 60 days? Wendy and I, we were talking about it today. She used the word yesterday, momentum. Momentum. And this is nothing about what I do or anything else like that, but I've been working a lot harder than I had intentions to do when I decided to take on this new coaching and speaking engagement. And I said to her yesterday, I said, I'm feeling a little shift. And she said, nope, you're gaining momentum. But the momentum for all of us on here is going to happen to you if you have strong integrity when nobody's watching you, when nobody's around. That's when it takes shape. And I'm realizing that because I got nobody here. Greg comes into the office and I love seeing him, but he's not here 24/7. He's not tucking me into bed. He's not waking me up at 4:35 in the morning. I'm pretty sure of that. Brielle and Bryce be like, what the hell is Greg doing here? Like, just like you, there's nobody cheering for you when you wake up and your alarm clock's going off. And if you do have that, I'd like to know how much they cost, because I might need someone like that in some days. So integrity is my word. And we all have that word. And when you said it, Christian, I was just like, oh man, that's it right there. So what are you doing when nobody's watching? Eric Thomas has a great speech. Les Brown has a great speech. What are you doing when the music stops? What are you doing when there's nobody around? See, momentum will only carry you so far today, everybody. You're going to leave this event today at 3:00, and Chad and I are going to pour into you everything we possibly have. And you're going to walk away like a freaking rock star. You can break through walls. And at 5:00, it's very possible that it disappears because life's going to happen to you. And tomorrow morning, when your alarm goes off, because maybe you're going to be motivated to set your alarm early tomorrow, and that alarm's going to go off, and you're like, damn, I don't really want to get up. This sounded like a really good idea when Brock was having me write it down. Because the music's off. Nobody's around. That's when the integrity hits. That's when the integrity happens. You said the word training. You don't want to go against a fight with a trained individual. Correct, Christian?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Why the hell are we going through life not being training ourselves? Why are we going out into the real world, not being trained, not having the knowledge, not having the skill? We don't want to go into a fight or a ring against a trained person, but we do it in life. We're walking around hoping and praying somebody asks us to do business. But when they do and they say we got to be interviewed, we might be like, oh boy, I'm not really ready for that. You're going to be going against 3 other people, 4 other people who are trained. Christian, why didn't you want to go in a ring with somebody who was a trained fighter?
Well, I was trained, so I would want to go in with someone that was trained. But if I wasn't, because they'd tear you apart.
Yeah.
It's like playing basketball against a toddler.
See, they would beat you down physically. Doctors used to say people who smoke cigarettes, if they could see what's going on in their inside, they probably wouldn't smoke. But we don't make changes until we see something. We don't want to go into a fight because we physically would be beaten down. So it's internal. It's integrity when nobody's watching. And I thought today, honesty is what you guys are really going to be looking at, because you know your integrity when nobody's watching. You're going to be honest with yourself. So I thought today your points were stellar on how those things affect our lives. Doesn't mean that we have to freaking, train or fight to exhaustion. But hell, how many of you at the end of the day are so tired you can't even write your plan for tomorrow? How many of you can't write your gratitudes at night? How many of you can't write your affirmations at night because I'm too tired, or the TV seems a lot easier? Right? All right, it's 8:45. I'm done. I said too much. Get myself all fired up for today. Christian, take us away, buddy. Head us home.
Yeah, so again, guys, success plan today, and it's going to be a chance to, like Brock was kind of tying in, test that integrity a little bit. Where we're going to be planning for what we want to do, and then it's up to us to actually do what we say we're going to do. And a lot of times in these talks, especially when we're having more of this tough discussion, a lot of people say, "Hey, I'm not meaning to attack anybody," but let me tell you something. If you're feeling attacked by what I said today, maybe there's a reason for that. And I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking to me too, because it's not, I have issues, believe me. And this integrity stuff, it eats away at you. So it's something, you have to, you're not going to be perfect, but you got to try to make strides to get a more integrated life. You got to get your ideal you, your reality, and you got to try to bring them together and mesh them together as much as possible. So in closing, I want to say thank you to Terry, Alunda, Hayden. I know you've been on here the last couple of weeks. I appreciate you coming on. Maritza's new. Stephanie Jordan, I see you're new on here as well. I've been seeing you this last week. Alicia Gonzalez, so I appreciate you all. 8:47. I went a couple minutes over. Sorry, guys. We will be back at 8:15 tomorrow. Make sure, if you haven't checked out the Success Plan training, if you're in the Charlotte area, come check it out. If not, it will be recorded. I'm going to be videotaping it, and we will put it out as well. See you all tomorrow. Hope everyone has a great and awesome afternoon. Bye, guys.